In part one of our worksheet video lecture, we learned how to list the account titles in the appropriate order, listing our asset accounts first, followed by the liability accounts, owner's equity account, revenue account, and finally we listed all of our expense accounts. To complete the trial balance section of the worksheet, we took the amounts from the general ledger and put the amount on the appropriate debit or credit side of the trial balance. Once each amount was listed, we got a total for the debit column and a total for the credit column, and we had to make sure that those two amounts were in balance. Now, we had a little problem the first time because I wrote down the incorrect number, but you helped me to correct that, and so thank you for that, and we completed the trial balance section of the worksheet. We then talked about adjustments. Adjustments are changes made at the end of the accounting period for unrecorded business transaction. Okay, so we talked about the fact that there are certain type of transactions we do not record until the end of the accounting period. So we did adjustments to our supplies account and for prepaid insurance because once supplies have been used or prepaid insurance had expired, those items now become expenses. So we recognize supplies expense and insurance expense. We also cover a concept known as depreciation, which is the process of taking the cost of a long-term asset like equipment and expensing that cost over the asset's useful life. So we worked on how to record depreciation expense in the worksheet. Once we've made all the adjustments for the accounting period, we got a total for the adjustment section. And just like for the trial balance, the total of the debit and sections column of the adjustment section must balance. I'm sorry. So now we are here and we are ready on the adjusted trial balance. When we think about the adjusted trial balance, it is a combination of these first two sections of the worksheet. It's a combination of the trial balance and the adjustment. The adjusted trial balance shows each account balance after we have made the required adjustments at the end of the accounting period. There are certain accounts that we're not going to adjust. If that's the case, the amount is taken from the trial balance brought over to the adjusted trial balance. But other accounts have been adjusted, so we must now determine what would be the account's ending balance after we've made the required adjustments at the end of the accounting period. So now let's work on completing the adjusted trial balance section of the worksheet. You ready? Let's go. We're going to go account title by account title, beginning with the cash account. Notice cash was not adjusted, so the amount is transferred from the trial balance over to the adjusted trial balance. The same holds true for account receivable, no adjustment, bring the amount from the trial balance over to the adjusted trial balance. And be sure you also put it on the same side it was on in the trial balance. Now the supplies account was adjusted. The amount was $4,500. Then we credit the account for $2,850. So look at the account balance initially, a debit of $4,500, a credit for $2,850. Because they're on opposite sides, we're going to subtract those two amounts from each other and record the balance on the largest side of the account. Therefore, our supplies account has a balance of $1,650 after we've made the account adjusted at the end of the accounting period. Prepaid insurance was also adjusted. The amount was $4,100 before adjustment, debit balance. Then the account was credited for $1,025. So we must show what would be our prepaid insurance balance after the adjustment. So once again, we're going to subtract the smaller amount from the larger and record the balance on the larger side of the account. So for our prepaid insurance account, the balance after adjustment would be $3,075. Okay? The equipment account, there's no adjustment. So the amount is transferred from the trial balance over to the adjusted trial balance. For accumulated depreciation, initially there was no amount in the account, but the account was adjusted. It was credited for $925. So on the adjusted trial balance, the 925 is the new balance, and that is shown on the credit side of the adjusted trial balance. For accounts payable, you get it by now? Yep. A credit of $8,350. Palmer Capital, $48,975 on the credit side. Fees income, $58,500 on the credit side. So again, if there's not an adjustment, we just take the amount from the trial balance, bring it over to the adjusted trial balance. Now, next we have our expenses. First been depreciation. Initially, the amount was zero, but then the account was debited for $925. Therefore, the new balance will be $925 shown on the debit side. The same holds true for insurance expense. Initially, the amount was zero. It was adjusted, a debit of $1,025. So $1,025 would be the new balance for the insurance expense account. Rent expense, there was no adjustment. So the $5,300 transferred over from the trial balance. Salary expense, bring over the $54.25. Supplies expense was adjusted. The amount was zero. It was debit for $2,850. Therefore, the new amount is $2,850 shown on the debit side. So once you brought the balances over from the adjustments to the adjusted trial balance, you want to make sure that the totals are balanced. So the total for the debit column must equal the total for the credit side. Both sides total $108,750. Okay? So now we've completed the adjusted trial balance section, we can move over to the income statement section of the worksheet. Now you want to ask yourself what type of accounts are listed on the income statement. The income statement only lists your revenue accounts and your expense accounts. Let me do a little format change so we can see the top up here. Let me go to view. Let me freeze that. Hopefully I did it correctly. Let's see. Yes, I did. All right. Good job. So what I want to make sure that we can see the heading, but also record the information. So what we're going to do now for the income statement, we want to record our revenue and our expense accounts from the adjusted trial balance, bring them over to the income statement section of the worksheet. So for our revenue account, fees income, $58,500 recorded on the credit side. Then all the expenses for depreciation, for insurance, for rent, salaries, and supplies, they all have a debit balance. So all we did was we transferred the revenue and expense balances from the adjusted trial balance over to the income statement section of the worksheet. Now notice that right now for the income statement, the debit and credit column, they do not balance as of right now. That's okay. We're going to fix that a little bit later, or we're not going to fix, we're going to add on to that. Okay? I'm going to now move on to the balance sheet. And again, you're focused on what types of accounts appear on the balance sheet. It's going to be our assets, our liability, and our owner's equity account. And the amounts are going to be transferred from the adjusted trial balance over to the balance sheet section of the worksheet. So we got cash, accounts receivable, supplies, prepaid insurance, equipment. We have the contra asset account accumulated depreciation for the 925. We have accounts payable. We have Palmer's capital. We have fees income. Nope, no fees income. Make sure you're paying attention. The balance sheet only lists the asset accounts, the liability accounts, and the equity accounts. Plus, as you see, the revenue accounts and expenses are already listed on the income statement. Here's an important rule. Each account from the adjusted trial balance is listed only once again. They're either listed on the income statement section of the worksheet or at the balance sheet section of the worksheet, but not both. You're not going to have an account shown on the income statement and the balance sheet section of the worksheet. It will always be an either or situation. So notice that now for my totals, the income statement section is not in balance and the balance sheet section is not in balance. So what has to be done to complete my worksheet and make it balanced? That's a good question. Stay tuned for part 3 of our worksheet.